In 1927, in Los Angeles, a man simply walked into a school, told the registrar he was there to collect a 12-year-old child as her father was in an accident, and he kidnapped her. This is the story of Marion Parker, and a case that stunned all of the United States. Hi, and welcome back to the Historical Crimes and Criminals podcast. I'm Steve, your host. It's the third part of our LA trilogy of crime stories today. Please be aware that this episode contains graphic descriptions and listener caution is advised. Yes, and that means you, Morag, on your way to work, in a bus, on an empty stomach. Have something to eat before you listen to this one. Marion Parker was born on October the 11th, 1915, in Los Angeles, California, to Geraldine and Perry Parker. Marion was at Mount Vernon Junior High School on December the 15th, 1927, when a young man turned up, introducing himself as an employee of the bank where Perry Parker worked. The young man claimed that Perry had suffered an automobile accident and he wished to see his daughter. Mary Holt was the registrar who let Marion go with the man, and Holt later claimed that she would never have let Marion go, but the apparent sincerity and disarming manner of the man. Marion was reported missing later that day. The next day, on December the 16th, the first of several ransom letters were delivered via telegram to the Parker home, demanding $1,500 in $20 gold certificates. All communications by the kidnapper were signed with the names such as Fate, Death, and the Fox. The first telegram was addressed from Pasadena, and it read, "Do positively nothing until you receive special delivery letter," and it had what appeared to be Marion's signature on it. A second telegram, sent shortly after from Alhambra, read, "Marion secure, use good judgment, interference with my plans dangerous." This telegram was signed with the name George Fox. In another of the successive telegrams, it was indicated that no one will ever see the girl again except the angels in heaven. Through the telegram correspondence, a meeting location was established in the late hours of 16th of December for Perry Parker to exchange the ransom. Prior to departing, Perry recorded the serial numbers of each of the notes so they could be identified when used in future exchanges, allowing authorities to track the kidnapper. The first attempt by Perry to deliver the ransom failed when the kidnapper apparently realised the police had followed Perry and were monitoring the anticipated exchange. The kidnapper failed to appear while Perry waited at the location for several hours. The next day, on December the 17th, the Parker home received further telegrams from the kidnapper, the first of which scolded Perry over the national press attention that Marion's kidnapping had received, as well as for allowing police to spy on their planned exchange. In the telegram, the kidnapper indicated that December the 17th would also be the last day before he would kill Marion. An attached letter, written in Marion's handwriting, pleaded for her father to allow the ransom demands without police involvement. After consulting with authorities, Perry was given permission to meet the kidnapper alone and without police monitoring, out of fear for his daughter's life. 2 further telegrams were sent to the Parker house on the afternoon of December the 17th. The first, signed Fox Fate, began, "P. Parker, please recover your senses. I want your money rather than kill your child, but so far you have given me no other alternative." The second telegram, signed simply Fate, read, "Box is my name, very sly you know, set no traps, I'll watch for them. Get this straight, remember, life hangs by a thread. I have a Gillette ready and am able to handle the situation." On the evening of December the 17th, Perry received several phone calls at his home from the kidnapper, which established a new meeting for delivering the ransom money, with the agreed location being the corner of West 5th Street and South Manhattan Place in central Los Angeles. At 7:15 p.m, the kidnapper phoned the home, instructing Perry to depart immediately to the aforementioned location, assuring him he would recognise Perry's car. Perry arrived at the location alone with the ransom money at approximately 8 p.m. He was confronted by the kidnapper moments after arriving. The kidnapper was driving a Chrysler coupe and pulled up next to Perry's vehicle. He held him at gunpoint with a sawn-off shotgun, and the unknown man had a bandana covering most of his face. During the exchange, Perry was able to see Marion seated in the passenger seat of the car, concealed up to her neck by clothing, but not visibly moving. When he called out to her, she did not respond, although her eyes were visibly open. Perry assumed she'd been drugged. As soon as the money was handed over, the assailant put his vehicle into gear, moved forward, and pushed Marion's body out of the car before speeding away, the kidnapper stating, "There's your daughter," before throwing the body onto the street. Perry ran to his daughter's prostrate body and realised Marion was dead. Perry then phoned the authorities, and after her body was recovered from the street, an autopsy was completed on the remains at approximately 9 p.m. The coroner indicated that Marion had been dead for approximately 12 hours. The corpse that Mr. Parker and the police found was missing its arms, legs, and internal organs. Her lower torso was stuffed with a towel and a man's shirt. Marion's eyes had been held open with piano wires to give the appearance she was still alive. The following morning, on December the 18th, a man walking in Elysian Park found the severed arms and legs of a child, each wrapped in a newspaper, lying in disarray on a street. Upon recovering the limbs, police positively identified them as belonging to Marion. The story went national and a manhunt began for the killer. It involved over 20,000 police officers and American Legion volunteers. A reward of $50,000 was offered for the identifying or the capture of the killer, dead or alive. This was later raised to $100,000 after numerous contributions from the public. On December the 20th, the getaway car, which Marion's killer had departed in, was found abandoned and identified as being stolen in San Diego. Fingerprints were able to be taken from the door of the car. Police traced a laundry mark on the towel found stuffed inside Marion's torso to the Bellevue Arms apartments, where they interviewed a number of tenants. And on December the 20th, the fingerprints taken from the abandoned Chrysler were identified as belonging to William Edward Hickman, a former co-worker of Perry Parker. Both men were employed by the First National Bank of Los Angeles, where Parker worked as an assistant cashier and Hickman as a delivery boy. Born in Kansas City in 1908, William Edward Hickman had began his life of crime pilfering candy at age 11. Shortly after meeting an accomplice, 16-year-old Welby Hunt, they graduated to forgery, armed robbery, and murder. In 1926, the teenagers put Kansas City behind them and headed to Los Angeles, where they lived with Hunt's grandparents in Alhambra. Hunt would later testify that Hickman once confided that it was his wish to get someone, chop them up in little pieces, and throw them on the highway. On Christmas Eve, 1926, Hickman and Hunt, both armed with pistols, walked into the Rose Hill Pharmacy in Los Angeles and announced the hold-up to Clarence Toms and his wife Ruth, who followed their bandits' orders and put their hands in the air. However, while the robbery was in progress, Officer Oliver walked into the store and Hickman and Hunt immediately opened fire. Toms was hit in the chest and Oliver was hit in the right hand. Oliver returned fire but didn't hit either of the bandits, who escaped, and Toms died from his injuries. Deciding to lie low for a time, the two resorted to jobs as messengers for a downtown bank. There, they met Perry Parker, the bank's chief clerk and the father of a son and twin girls. But the work at the bank had evidently not stopped the teenagers' crime spree. On the 24th of May, 1927, the morning after Hunt's grandfather withdrew a large sum from his bank, his body was found underneath Pasadena's Colorado Street Bridge. The money was gone, but 5 suicide notes were left behind, written by 2 hands. Hickman, in the meantime, had forged $400 worth of checks at the bank. He was found out, fired, and prosecuted. Hickman was convicted and sentenced to 6 months probation. He then returned to the bank and asked for his messenger job back, but his request was denied by Perry Parker. Parker also said that shortly after Hickman lost his job at the bank, he applied for a job with another company, and Parker was asked to supply a reference. He refused, and Hickman didn't get the job. Out of work, he pulled some low-yield hold-ups, but by December, Hickman had figured out a surefire way to make money, and that was by kidnapping his former colleague's daughter. It was subsequently uncovered that Hickman had been a new resident of the Bellevue Arms, having moved into the building recently under the alias Donald Evans. Upon examination of Hickman's apartment, bloody footprints were discovered, indicating evidence of a crime. Additionally, police found partially burnt handwritten drafts of ransom letters regarding Parker, as well as newspaper clippings about the Parker kidnapping. A janitor at the Bellevue Arms reported he'd witnessed Hickman carrying several packages to his car on the night of December the 16th and observed him wiping down the seats of the car the following day. Identifying Hickman as a prime suspect in Marion Parker's murder, law enforcement traced his path northwards, where he fled to Oregon. He was sighted by a gas station attendant in Albany, Oregon, on the morning of December the 20th, 1927, driving a green Hudson car, later determined to have been stolen in Los Angeles. The chase was on. According to the station attendant, Hickman was dressed in a dark blue suit and wore Oxford shoes. The attendant reported the sighting to the police the next day after reading a newspaper article indicating that Hickman was most likely driving a green Hudson vehicle. Police were subsequently able to trace Hickman to Seattle, where he used 2 of the $20 gold certificates given to him as part of Perry Parker's ransom to purchase clothes from a haberdashery on the evening of December the 21st. Around 6:30 a.m. on December the 22nd, Fred King, a gas station proprietor in Portland, spotted Hickman at his service station, where he again was purchasing gasoline. King immediately reported the sighting to police, indicating that Hickman had driven away from the service station east in the direction of the Columbia River Gorge. A bulletin was posted following King's report, and officers were stationed on all roads leading east of Portland. At approximately 1:30 p.m. on December the 22nd, Chief of Police Tom Gordane and Traffic Officer Bucklow Allen arrested Hickman in Echo, Oregon after a frantic car chase. The officers had recognised him from the wanted posters. In the Green Hudson, the officers discovered 1,400 of the gold ransom given to him by Perry. At the time of his arrest, Hickman proclaimed, "Some fiend killed her. I don't know who he is," before stating, "I did it because I wanted the money to pay my way through college." While detained in the Umatilla County Jail in Pendleton, Oregon, Hickman confessed to helping participate in Parker's kidnapping, but implicated two men, brothers Oliver and Frank Kramer, as accomplices who carried out the murder. Hickman relayed an extensive story to a journalist from Oregon in which he claimed to have participated in the kidnapping ransom plot of the Kramers. Hickman claimed to have spent time with Marion Parker, even taking her to see Figures Don't Lie at the Rialto Theatre. He took responsibility for the telegrams and phone calls, but claimed it was the Kramers who'd actually carried out the Parker's murder. Police, however, determined it to be impossible, as the Kramer brothers had been incarcerated for several months on other charges. It was subsequently determined that Hickman knew the Kramer brothers through one of their girlfriends, whom Hickman was an acquaintance of. Aware that both men had criminal histories, police surmised Hickman attempted to implicate them on this basis, but the authorities assured the public they were satisfied that neither of the Kramer men nor their girlfriends were aware or involved in Parker's abduction or murder. Hickman at first denied having committed the murder at his apartment in the Bellevue Arms, despite the discovery of blood evidence there. Captain Bright of the Pendleton Police Department commented, "Hickman said the Parker girls was not killed at the Bellevue Arms apartment house. We know that she was killed there. If his statement is wrong in that, it is discredited in other details." Hickman was extradited to Los Angeles, where he confessed to the Tongs murder. He also confessed to have committed a number of other armed robberies. In subsequent correspondence, authorities were able to coax details about Parker's murder. In his apartment at the Bellevue Arms, Hickman admitted to having strangled Parker, whom he blindfolded and tied to a chair until she was unconscious, before cutting her throat and chopping her body into parts. Hickman subsequently wrapped Parker's limbs in newspaper before storing her torso in a suitcase. He then left the apartment to see a film at the Lowe's State Theatre, but claimed he was unable to focus on the feature and wept throughout. Later that night, realising that Parker's father might want to physically see his daughter before paying the ransom, Hickman attempted to reconstruct and disguise Marion's body to make it appear she was still alive. He applied makeup and sewed her eyes open with the piano wire. Reflecting on the entire ordeal, Hickman told the police, "She was perfectly safe, and the tragedy was so sudden and unexpected, I'm sure she never actually suffered through the whole affair, except for a little sobbing which she couldn't keep back for her father and mother. Hickman told his attorneys that he killed Parker upon the direction of a supernatural deity he called Providence. This claim was touted by Hickman's defence attorney in court, who attempted to explain Hickman's actions by reason of insanity. The defence professed that Hickman was mentally ill and deeply influenced by his religious zealot grandfather, who had exposed him to frenzied religious exorcisms out of the limbo of his subconscious mind, subcharged with the severe repressions of his awful childhood, homicide, and mutilation ideated. Hickman was one of the first defendants to use California's new law that allowed pleas of not guilty by reason of insanity. Evidence contradicting his insanity defence included testimony from prison guards at Umatilla County Jail in Oregon, who stated that Hickman had asked them how he could act crazy during his incarceration. Dr. McCarry, a Pendleton psychologist who examined Hickman at the Umatilla County Jail, observed that his mind seemed clear and he told a straight, coherent story and was never at a loss for words. There was nothing about him to indicate insanity. He says he does not like girls, that he's deeply religious, and his ambition was to become a minister. Several times he mentioned God. Prosecutors speculated that Hickman wanted revenge against Parker for having testified against him at the earlier trial for theft and forgery. There is evidence that Hickman committed the murder in part for the infamy it would bring him. Edgar Rice Burroughs covered the Hickman trial for the Los Angeles Examiner. Burroughs is best known as the creator of Tarzan, and in one article, Burroughs wrote, "After watching Hickman all day, I will venture the assertion that if he is crazy, I am Professor Einstein." In February 1928, a jury rejected the insanity defence, and the judge sentenced Hickman to death by hanging. He appealed his conviction, but it was upheld in the California Supreme Court. During his final months, Hickman reportedly embraced Catholicism and wrote letters of apologies to the victims' families. Although Hickman told prison guards and his cellmate that he would walk confidently to the gallows, strengthened by his newfound religious beliefs, he only got about halfway to the 13 steps before he slumped, and the guards had to prop him up to assist him to the top. As he reached the trap door, he looked towards the ceiling and began reciting a quiet prayer. When the black hood was placed over his head, he started to collapse again, and the executioner quickly signalled for the rope to be cut, releasing the trap door at 10:10 a.m. Since Hickman was already slumping forward when the trapdoor opened, witnesses said the drop didn't have the desired effect of snapping his neck and causing an immediate death. Instead, his head hit the side of the gallows and he dangled at the end of the rope, violently twitching and jerking. The prison doctor climbed a stepladder next to Hickman and put a stethoscope to his chest. 15 minutes after the trapdoor opened, the doctor stepped away and nodded, signifying that Hickman was dead. Not a quick death from a broken neck, but a slow strangulation. His accomplice in the drugstore shooting and robbery, Welby Hunt, was convicted to life at San Quentin, aged 17, eventually being paroled and dying, age 84, in 1995. Mary Holt, the school registrar, remained tormented with guilt. She stayed on at the school, but her black hair had turned white within a year of the crime. Well, that's it for another episode of the Historical Crimes and Criminals podcast. I hope you enjoyed that one, and if you did, please subscribe, leave a review, and till next time, bye bye.